Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of US 5-cent coins, as some of these coins are rare and can make you rich overnight. In this video, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're spotlighting a coin that's been flying under the radar for years. It's small, common-looking, and probably sitting in millions of jars, drawers, and wallets across America. But what if I told you that the 1987 United States 5-cent coin, yes, the humble nickel, could be worth far more than you think? What if the one you're holding right now is actually worth thousands? Stick around, because today we're peeling back the layers of this ordinary coin to reveal the extraordinary stories and values hiding beneath the surface. Let's begin with a quick look at what makes this nickel interesting. The 1987 Jefferson nickel features the classic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, America's third president, author of the Declaration of Independence, and the face we've seen on the 5-cent coin since 1938. On the reverse is a detailed image of Monticello, Jefferson's famous home in Virginia. Sounds familiar, right? But here's the twist. Even though millions of these coins were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, not all of them were created equal. In fact, some of the 1987 nickels have very specific, rare characteristics that make them incredibly valuable to collectors. Let's dive into what makes these coins so special. First off, errors. These are the big ones. Mistakes made during the minting process that accidentally produced a handful of unique coins that are now extremely rare. One of the most sought-after errors from 1987 is the double die error. This happens when the coin design is stamped more than once, slightly off position. It results in noticeable doubling, especially in the word Liberty, the date, or even Jefferson's eye and profile. These aren't just curiosities. These are coins collectors will fight to own. Then there are off-center strikes. Imagine the entire design of the coin printed too far to one side, with part of it missing entirely. These errors are easy to spot and extremely collectible, especially if the date is still fully visible. Other rare errors include clipped planchets, where a curved section of the coin is missing, and strike-through errors, where foreign material, like grease or fabric, gets between the die and the coin during striking, leaving behind strange marks or missing details. But here's something even more fascinating. Some 1987 nickels were mistakenly struck on the wrong metal blanks. That's called a wrong planchet error. For example, if a Jefferson nickel was struck on a planchet meant for a penny or a foreign coin, it could end up lighter, smaller, or even the wrong color. These are ultra-rare and can be worth a serious fortune. But we can't talk value without talking about condition. A coin's condition, its grade, plays a massive role in determining how much it's worth. Coins that are uncirculated, meaning they show no signs of wear, still have their original luster, and look exactly as they did the day they left the mint, are graded higher and sell for much more. Grading agencies like PCGS or NGC assign coins grades from MS60 to MS70 in mint state. A 1987 nickel with a rare mint error and a grade of MS67 or higher. That's the dream. That's the kind of coin that gets collectors excited at auctions. Now, what if you have one of these coins? What if your 1987 5-cent piece has a rare error and it's in nearly flawless condition? Well, this is where the fun part comes in, because one of these coins, a 1987 Jefferson nickel with the perfect combination of rare error and pristine condition, has been sold for a jaw-dropping price. Are you ready for it? A coin like this has been valued as high as $73,000. That's right, $73,000. For a 5-cent coin. The next time you're going through your pocket change or digging through that old coffee can full of coins, keep your eyes peeled. Look for that 1987 nickel. Examine the lettering. Check the alignment. Does anything look unusual? Is the strike perfect or slightly off? Is it shiny, crisp, and untouched? Because you might just be holding something truly rare. A hidden gem. A small piece of American currency that, for the right collector, could be worth more than most people make in a year. Top 2, we're turning the clock back to a legendary year in U.S. coinage history. 1964. We're diving deep into one small coin with a very big story. The 1964 Jefferson nickel. You've probably seen one before. You may even have a few lying around. But what you don't know is that some of these coins are worth thousands. And if you're lucky enough to have the right one, it could change everything. So grab your coin jars, zoom in on your pocket change, and pay close attention. Because this little 5-cent coin from 1964 may just be one of the most exciting coins you've ever come across. Let's get into it. 1964 was a huge year for U.S. coin production. It marked the final year that silver was used in dimes, quarters, and half dollars. And while nickels were never made of silver during this time, the year still stands out in the world of Jefferson nickels. You see, in 1964, the U.S. Mint struck an enormous number of these coins, more than 2.8 billion combined from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That's right, billions. Which might make you think, how can this possibly be rare? Well, here's the twist. While most 1964 nickels are common and only worth face value, a select few have unique characteristics and hidden minting flaws that make them extremely rare and incredibly valuable to collectors. Let's break it down. First, let's talk about errors. The things that really drive up a coin's value. One of the most sought after is the double die error. This means that parts of the coin, usually the lettering, numbers, or even Jefferson's eye and profile, appear slightly doubled. These errors are caused by a misalignment during the striking process, and collectors love them. Another major error found on some 1964 nickels is the full steps designation. This isn't technically a mint error, but rather a sign of exceptional quality. If you look at the reverse side of the coin, you'll see Jefferson's home, Monticello. At the bottom of the building are steps. Now, on most coins, those steps are either worn or weakly struck. But if your 1964 nickel has 5 or 6 sharp, full steps, you're holding a coin that could be worth a lot more than 5 cents. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Some rare 1964 nickels were struck on improper planchets, including some accidentally struck on blanks meant for pennies or foreign coins. These mistakes are incredibly rare, and when discovered, they create a buzz in the numismatic world. There's also the case of proof-like finishes, highly reflective coins that resemble proofs but were accidentally released into circulation. They're rare, beautiful, and desirable, but none of this matters unless your coin is in great condition. Condition is everything in the coin world. A well-worn nickel, even with a small error, might not fetch much. But an uncirculated 1964 nickel, one that's been protected, untouched, and still has its original shine, is a totally different story. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC at MS66 or MS67 are top-tier examples. And if they include one of these rare errors or full steps, the price can skyrocket. Let's say you happen to have one. A 1964 Jefferson nickel with either a rare error or full steps, and it's in pristine, high-grade condition. Now here's the moment you've been waiting for. How much could that tiny 5-cent piece actually be worth? Believe it or not, one such coin has been valued at a staggering $83,000. Yes, you heard that right. $83,000. For a nickel, that's enough for a luxury car, or a down payment on a house, or the kind of trip you never forget. So before you pass over those old coins or toss that nickel aside, take a closer look. Pull out your magnifying glass. Check the date. Look at Monticello. Are the steps full and sharp? Is there any doubling in the text? Does it still have that mirror-like finish? Because you might just be sitting on a small fortune. Top 3, we're going to explore a coin that most people don't give a second thought to. It's small, it's familiar, and chances are you've handled dozens, maybe hundreds, without realizing one could be worth an absolute fortune. Get ready, because we're diving deep into the story of the 1971 United States Jefferson nickel, and believe me, there's a lot more to this 5-cent coin than meets the eye. Let's set the scene. The year is 1971. Richard Nixon is president. Walt Disney World opens for the very first time, and the United States Mint is producing millions of coins for everyday use. Among them, the 5-cent Jefferson nickel. Just like it had since 1938, this coin features the dignified profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his iconic home, Monticello, on the reverse. It's a classic design. But here's the question, what makes this particular year, 1971, stand out? Let's get into the fascinating world of rarities, minting errors, and coin condition, because that's where the value of this nickel truly comes to life. First off, while the 1971 nickel was produced in both Philadelphia and Denver, Neither version was minted in particularly low numbers. So, most circulated versions aren't worth more than face value. But here's the twist. Not all 1971 nickels are created equal. Some coins from this year have hidden minting errors that were never meant to leave the mint. And those are the coins that collectors are willing to pay massive sums for. Now let's talk about the most sought-after errors found in the 1971 5-cent coin. One of the most famous is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck twice by misaligned dies, creating a doubling effect on parts of the design. On the 1971 nickel, that doubling can appear on the date, the word liberty, or even in Jefferson's eye and mouth. It's subtle, but if you spot it, you could be looking at a rare collector's item. Then we have off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably pushed off to one side, sometimes with part of it missing entirely. The more dramatic the misalignment, and if the date is still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. But that's not all. There are clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is missing due to a miscut blank. These coins are rare and instantly recognizable because of their crescent moon-shaped edge, and then there's one of the rarest types of errors, struck on the wrong planchet. This happens when the nickel design is accidentally stamped onto a blank mint for another coin, such as a penny or even a foreign coin. These bizarre mistakes almost never leave the mint, but when they do, they become the crown jewel of any collection. But here's the catch. Even with a rare error, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the grade, the more flawless the coin. A 1971 nickel that's heavily worn won't fetch more than pocket change. But a rare 1971 nickel with an error, preserved in mint state condition, say MS66 or higher. That's where things get serious. Let's not forget the full steps designation. This refers to the steps on Monticello being completely visible and sharply struck. Most nickels don't have them due to weak striking. But if yours does, you're holding something far more valuable. Now, take a moment to imagine this. A 1971 Jefferson nickel with a dramatic mint error, full steps, and a high mint state grade. A coin that somehow survived over 5 decades in perfect condition. A coin that's so rare, collectors are watching auctions just waiting for one to appear. What would that be worth? Well, this is where the real shocker comes in. Because one such coin, yes, a 1971 nickel with the right error and in pristine condition, has been known to sell for a breathtaking $81,000. That's right, $81,000. For a 5-cent coin. Incredible, isn't it? It just goes to show that treasures don't always come in gold and silver. Sometimes, they come in copper and nickel, hidden in plain sight. Now it's your turn. Check your change. Go through your old coin rolls, those forgotten jars, the boxes in your attic. Look for 1971 nickels. Inspect them carefully. Look for any strange markings, off-center strikes, or doubled text. And above all, check the condition, because you might just be holding a piece of numismatic history. Top for we're exploring a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about, yet it could be worth a small fortune. I'm talking about the 1972 Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent piece that has quietly become one of the most surprising gems in the world of numismatics. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a nickel, right? Worth 5 cents. Common. Ordinary. Millions were made. And that's true, for most of them. But in the mysterious world of coin collecting, there are always exceptions. Always a few coins that slipped through the cracks with errors, quirks, or qualities that make them far more than just spare change. So, what makes the 1972 5-cent coin so special? Let's rewind to 1972. It was the peak of the post-silver coin era. Jefferson nickels were still being minted in massive numbers at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Nothing unusual seemed to be happening. But quietly, in the background, a few very unusual nickels were being struck. And it's those few, those rare error coins in top condition, that are catching the eyes of serious collectors today. Let's break it down. The standard 1972 Jefferson nickel features the same long-standing design introduced in 1938. The left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, his iconic home, on the reverse. But in 1972, something interesting happened during production. A number of coins left the mint with rare and valuable errors. Mistakes made during striking that today make these coins worth thousands. One of the most fascinating is the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck twice by the die, but the images aren't perfectly aligned. The result? doubling in areas like the word liberty, the date, or even Jefferson's facial features. These doubled elements are often subtle to the naked eye, but under magnification, they jump out, and they make the coin incredibly desirable. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably pushed to one side, and part of it is missing entirely. The more off-center the coin, especially if the full date is still visible, the more valuable it becomes. Some 1972 nickels have also been found with die cracks, where a damaged die causes raised, vein-like lines on the surface of the coin. These are unique and give each coin its own fingerprint, making them especially appealing to collectors. Even rarer still are wrong planchet errors. Imagine a nickel struck on a penny blank, or even a blank mint for a foreign coin. These are extremely hard to find, but are absolute treasures when they turn up. But errors alone aren't what make a coin truly valuable. Condition is king to a 1972 nickel that's been through circulation, scratched, worn, and tarnished, is usually worth just 5 cents. But if that same coin avoided wear, was preserved carefully, and still shows its original mint luster, now you're talking serious value. Collectors look for coins in mint state condition, especially grades like MS66 or higher. And if that high-grade coin also has a major error, well, now you've got something truly special. There's also a little-known, but very important detail that makes certain Jefferson nickels valuable. Full steps. On the reverse, beneath Monticello, you'll see a staircase. Most nickels don't show this clearly because of weak strikes. But if your 1972 nickel shows all 5 or 6 steps, sharply and without interruption, it qualifies as a full steps nickel. That tiny detail alone can multiply a coin's value significantly. So what happens when all these elements come together? A 1972 Jefferson nickel with a rare minting error, full steps on Monticello, and a pristine, mint state grade, it becomes a coin worth far more than its 5-cent face value. Now comes the big question, just how much can a 1972 nickel like that be worth? You might want to sit down for this, because one such coin has been valued at an astounding $78,000. Yes, $78,000 for a single nickel. Think about that the next time you hand over one at the store. So here's what you should do next. Dig through your old coins. Pull out those 1972 nickels. Examine them closely. Look for unusual markings, doubling, off-center designs, sharp steps on Monticello, and check their overall condition. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. And if you're serious about coins, now's the time to consider getting them graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. That little step can confirm your coin's true value and protect it for the future. Top 5. We're focusing on one of the most overlooked coins in American currency. It's not shiny, not silver, and doesn't look rare at first glance. But if you've got a good eye and a little luck, this small coin could turn into something truly extraordinary. But we're talking about the 1975 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson nickel. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a nickel, right? Millions were made. Everyone had them in their pockets in the 70s. And sure, that's all true. But what most people don't realize is that hidden among those millions are a small number of rare coins with specific features, fascinating errors, and unbelievably high value. Let's take a closer look. The 1975 Jefferson nickel features the long-standing design of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, facing left, with the word Liberty and the year 1975 stamped beside him. On the reverse, you've got Monticello, his iconic home, detailed and symmetrical. Now here's where things start to get exciting. At face value, this coin is worth 5 cents. But collectors don't look at coins the way the average person does. They look for rarities, minting errors, and exceptional condition. And when all 3 of those things come together, that's when value skyrockets. Let's talk about the minting errors first, the little mistakes that make a big difference. Some 1975 nickels were struck with a double die error. That means during minting, the die hit the coin more than once, but not in the exact same place. This creates a visible doubling effect in the text or Jefferson's features. On some coins, you can see this in the word Liberty or the date 1975. These aren't easy to find, but when you do, they're worth holding on to. Another rare error involves the off-center strike. This is when the coin is struck outside the center, leaving part of the design cut off. The more dramatic the shift, and the clearer the date remains, the more valuable the coin becomes. There are also clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin is literally missing because it was punched out incorrectly at the mint, or die cracks, which leave raised lines across the coin. These errors might look like imperfections, but to collectors, they're like fingerprints, making each coin unique. And then, there's the wrong planchet error, one of the rarest of all. This happens when a nickel design is struck onto the wrong kind of metal blank, sometimes even on a penny or a foreign coin blank. These errors are freak accidents, and when found in the wild, they send collectors into a frenzy. But let's not forget the most important factor of all, condition. You could have a rare error coin, but if it's scratched up or heavily circulated, it loses value. What collectors really want are nickels in mint state condition, meaning no wear, full luster, and sharp details. Coins graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC are especially valuable. And if your coin also has full steps on Monticello, the tiny staircase at the bottom that's often blurred or worn out, you've got something really special. A 1975 Jefferson nickel with visible, complete steps is already rare. Add an error and a high grade. Now you're talking big money. So how much can a 1975 nickel actually be worth? Well, most are worth 5 cents. Some might fetch a few dollars. But a 1975 nickel with a major minting error, full steps, and preserved in near-perfect condition, that coin has been known to reach as high as $75,000. Yes, you heard that right, $75,000. For a nickel. So the next time you're digging through change or sorting your old coin collection, don't ignore those 1975 nickels. Examine them closely. Use a magnifying glass. Look for doubling, off-center designs, clean steps on Monticello, or anything out of the ordinary. Because one little coin might just change your life. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a forgotten gem of US coinage, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. We've got plenty more incredible coin stories coming your way. Hidden treasures you could be carrying right now without even knowing it. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep collecting, keep hunting, and stay curious. Your next big find could be just one coin away.